Today, I'm going to talk and share with you the most powerful parenting decision that you will ever make in your life. Imagine a wildfire. Imagine that fire rapidly spreading out across the bushes and the forest until one person, someone, turns back and decides to face the flames and decides to face the fire. So the people that are in front of them, the animals who are in front of them, are not touched, even if they already have scars on their back. On this podcast episode, we're going to talk about the daily choice of healing, choosing healing in our parenting journey. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Parenting with Understanding podcast. My name is Marcela Collier. I'm a certified parenting coach, founder of HIC Parenting Education Agency, and my mission with my coaches is to help as many parents as we can break away from generational reactivity, bring peace to their parenting, and raise secure children by developing in them the skills of a secure parent. And if these kind of content, if this kind of topic is something that calls your attention, or if you've been watching us for a while, that's the sign that you need to subscribe to this podcast. So I encourage you to take a little moment if you have not subscribed yet and subscribe to the Parenting with Understanding podcast. After this podcast episode, you will have a clear roadmap, a clear overview of what's happening in your parenting. How come, despite all the efforts that you've been having of not snapping, of not yelling, perhaps of not spanking, how comes things are keep happening, and how the daily choice of choosing healing could help you break the cycle, not just for today, but for generations to come, as that wildfire that stops because someone, somewhere, at some point, turned back and faced the flames and decided to stop the cycle, decided to quench the fire. So let's talk about the choice of healing. Yes, healing is a choice. It's not something that happens by accident. If you have a rough childhood, it is not your fault. It wasn't your fault, the things that happened to you, but it is your responsibility, and you can make the choice of healing. There was a mom, let's call her Emily. She worked with us in HIC parenting for a few months in coaching. And the turning point for her was one day that she already put her kids to sleep. She has two little girls. And then she sat on the kitchen table reflecting on the day and thinking, I I don't want to yell anymore. I don't want my children to go to bed feeling disconnected anymore. I don't want to feel guilty about the way that I treated my girls anymore. She was desperate, and she said, okay, today was the day that I'm just going to stop yelling. And she made a logical decision. I want you to highlight the word logical. She made a logical decision of stopping yelling. The next day, the morning happened, the rush of the morning happened, the daily arguments happened, the rushing to school happened. She got a flat tire. She came back home. She was already late to picking up her girls again. She came back home with them. And when she least knew it, she was already yelling. She was exhausted. She felt ashamed. And then she was thinking, if I made the decision of not yelling at my girls, how come I yelled again? What's wrong with me? Is that you? That you break your own promises. You're trying to be a lot calmer, a lot more secure in your parenting. You want to not yell, but despite the promises that you made yourself the night before or 2 nights before, the day gets in the way and then you end up reacting. What was happening with Emily? And this is something that she discovered in coaching. She was trying to think her way out of reactivity, thinking her way out of reactivity. You cannot logic out your reactivity because anxiety, because overwhelm, because trauma is not a thinking problem. They are anxiety, overwhelmed, anger, all those things that makes us react live in our body, in our nervous system. They are nervous system activation. So we cannot think our way out of anger, out of reactivity. We cannot think our reactivity out of us. It is a process that needs to involve, yes, the brain, but as well the nervous system and the body. And for that, we need more than just goodwill. We need several things in place. We need several things in place. Let's talk about those things. When we carry and resolve pain from childhood, unmet needs, emotional neglect, criticism, all those things create reactivity, even if we're trying to not react, even if we are trying to logically not react. What was happening to Emily? Well, she grew up. I'm saying Emily, that was not her real name, but you know, for the sake of protecting her privacy. But what was happening to Emily? She was carrying emotional baggage from childhood that was impairing her to show up as a secure person for her kids. I was one of those. I was a reactive parent. Let me tell you my story. Every time that one of my kids cried, I felt so, I didn't feel overwhelmed. I felt like a rushed energy to make them stop crying. Because if they continued to cry, there was a narrative in me that meant I was a bad mother. Why? Because growing up, I was made responsible to keep my brother happy. And if he ended up crying, having more needs than me, Down syndrome, autistic, nonverbal, if he was crying, then it was my fault. And I was blamed and shamed. And fingers were pointed at me. So when I saw one of my kids crying, all those messages that were living in my nervous system flared up. I became really anxious and I remember trying to calm my sons down from that anxious energy, which it made them a lot more dysregulated and cry more. So do you see how we cannot think our way out of reactivity? We need to do several things in order for this to resolve. One of those things is the awareness. What I'm telling you right now is awareness speaking to you. Now my kids cry, not anymore so much because they're 9 years old, but sometimes they do, especially my autistic one cries. And because I have that awareness of, if I feel like a push to make him stop crying, it's not him, it's me and my old narrative that I need to keep my brother happy. So let me make him stop crying. So that awareness alone helps me ground myself on the present, because now I'm not a child anymore who has a really high pressure and expectation. I'm parent, a 30 something year old parent 30-year-old parent. I'm a 30 something year old parent with a little kid who needs me, and I don't have to rush his calm down process. If he keeps on crying, nobody's gonna come and tell me it's your fault because of you, you're this, you're that. That doesn't happen anymore. That awareness alone helps me. That, my friend, is choosing healing. Choosing healing is being, number one, aware of what's the internal narrative that is happening at the moment we're interacting with our kids, so we can reground ourselves in the present and not pass that anxious or triggered energy to our kids. That's why choosing healing matters. You are learning to, literally, you are reparenting yourself as you parent your children, and this is not an easy job. I acknowledge that it is hard, but it is not impossible, and it is a lot harder to allow the wildfire to spread instead of being the one facing the flames and saying the fire stops with me. If you are ready to take the next step on learning a simple system that I developed for myself to stop toxic reactions that I've been teaching my coaching clients for the last 5 years, that has helped 14,151 of the clients that I serve break away from reactivity and parent with peace. I have a free class that I recorded to explain to you how this parenting with understanding system works. You can access it on my website, www.hicparenting.com, www.hicparenting.com, or you can go to my Instagram DM at High Impact Club, High Impact Club, or HIC Parenting, one of our two accounts, and DM me the word peace 25. Yes, peace and number 25, and I will send you the link to this class. Or you can find the link in the description below this video. You'll walk away with the understanding of why your behaviors trigger you, what your nervous system needs to feel safe, and how to respond to your children from a secure way. So let's keep talking about what choosing healing really means. Dr. Deloney, I'm reading a wonderful book with my private community called Building a Non Anxious Life. And then he says that trauma is our body response in the present moment of things that happened in the past. So, how would that look like? It looks like what I was doing, trying to fix my child's feelings because I was projecting while I lived in childhood with my brother. It looks like freezing when our child screams. It looks like getting defensive and reactive when our child is aggressive. That's how it looks like. Our nervous system doesn't know the difference between the now and the past. Our nervous system doesn't know this is not your brother anymore, and you don't have your mom behind your back telling you that you are making your brother cry. My nervous system doesn't know that. I have to tell it. I have to tell my nervous system the new narrative, the new reality. So yes, healing starts with awareness. Let's keep talking about awareness. Awareness of the narrative, and awareness of the kind of baggage that you are bringing onto your parenting. According to Dr. Deloney, there are different kinds of trauma. There is acute trauma, which is something very significant happened in your life, sometime in your life, and that created trauma. Let's just say that your parents got divorced, or your parents, or I don't know, your parents were sent to jail. There was something that happened, a specific event that happened that created big stress in your nervous system, and it still lives there. That's acute trauma. There is secondary trauma, which is more like a steady stream of absorbed pain by being around hurt people. So just imagine if you grew up in a dysfunctional home where you had to witness your parents fighting all the time, or where you have to witness your parents arguing with your brother all the time. You being around dysfunctional people, that could create secondary trauma. There is neglect trauma. Neglect trauma is the things that should have happened but didn't. You should have you shouldn't cry on your own. You shouldn't be left alone in your bedroom crying it out. You shouldn't, I wonder if I'm saying the right or the right pronunciation. Not the right grammar. I'm here thinking about what's the right word expression to say this, but you shouldn't be left alone at home at 10, at 9, at 8. Neglect trauma is the things that you should have not lived, but you lived them. Cumulative trauma is the microaggressions, the constant criticism from your mom nothing was ever good enough. The bed was not made good enough. The homework was never good enough. You were not never good enough. You didn't dress good enough. You didn't do your hair good enough. You didn't brush your teeth good enough. You didn't clean the bathroom good enough. The little microaggressions could create cumulative trauma. And there is collective trauma, which is something that happens in a collective. So, for example, I grew up in the 90s in Colombia, in Medellin, Colombia. I have collective trauma when it comes to the cartels and the things that very hard things that we lived in the 90s in Colombia with Pablo Escobar, etc. So when I go on the street, I'm not as relaxed as my husband. I'm looking over my shoulders. It's hard sometimes even to enjoy family time out there. So that's collective trauma. Healing is learning to notice and being aware of what you're bringing to the table so you can choose how to respond to your kids. You can choose it. Your body's messages could come from, remember that I told you that we cannot think our way out of our reactivity. It is something that lives in our nervous system. So it shows physical signs through exhaustion, through stomach aches, through insomnia, through bad eating habits, through lack of taking care of your body, not exercising, eating crap, etc., through putting your needs on the back burner and exhausting yourself, meeting everybody else's needs, and you don't take care of your own needs. That's not part of parenting. That is the effect of trauma. So healing looks as well choosing to meet our needs, expanding our beliefs. The reality is that I'm not anymore that little helpless girl trying to calm down a 6-year-old older autistic brother. I am a 38-year-old mom fully capable of helping her 9-year-old autistic son. Expanding your beliefs, that's expanding your beliefs. Accessing help at home, it could be as simple as using your voice to ask your husband to hire a nanny for you, or using your voice and saying, I know, honey, that you go to school, and I know that we already had that conversation that was going to give you space once you come from work so you can do school work, but I cannot take it anymore. I cannot take care of the kids anymore by myself all day long from sunrise to sundown. I need help. So we need to revisit this conversation. We need to revisit this conversation, honey. We need to come to new agreements because it might be working for you, but it is destroying me. This doesn't work anymore. That's what accessing help at home means. It starts with using your voice, accessing therapy, and accessing parenting coaching. Many people ask me, Marcela, but what's the difference between coaching, parenting coaching, and therapy? Because we are in HIC parenting, we are parent centric parent coaches. We help parents with their own reactivity, with their own ways of acting towards their kids so they can be secure. And then people sometimes are confused about, like, can I just get the same result in therapy? Well, the difference between therapy and coaching is, number one is not exclusive of the other. Most of our clients go to therapy as well, right? And if you're in therapy, you may need coaching too. The difference is that we go to therapy to heal our traumas. We go to parenting coaching to not allow our baggage to get onto our kids while we heal our traumas in therapy, if that makes sense. In coaching, we retrained ourselves, we train ourselves in a new way of showing up to our kids. That's the difference between coaching and therapy. So they're not exclusive one from the other. Another way that you can choose healing is allowing your emotions and your child's emotions. Marcela, don't be angry. He's just a kid. Don't be angry. Take a deep breath. That's not allowing your emotions. That's suppressing and gaslighting yourself. You are denying the anger that you're feeling. You're denying the overwhelm that you're feeling. You're denying the fear that you're feeling. You're denying the annoyance that you're feeling. Allowing all your emotions to have a place in your nervous system to live is part of healing. Is welcoming the anger, welcoming the fear, welcoming the anxiety. What? Is it really? Yes, because they come to give us a very specific message, and it isn't until we hear it that we start making conscious choices towards a better life with our kids. Maybe your anger is telling you you need to have that hard conversation with your husband that I told you about a few minutes ago. Maybe overwhelm is telling you, I just cannot do bedtime anymore or every single day. Maybe annoyance is telling you, this thing of me feeding the kids first and then me eating after that doesn't work. I'm gonna have to figure out a way of, when I sit down at the table to feed my kids, to get, to serve food for them, my needs are already taken care of. Maybe what all these emotions are telling you, I have unprocessed trauma, I have built up anger, I have something that is beyond the things that I can do right now, and I need therapy and I need parenting coaching. Choosing healing looks like grieving. Grieving what, Marcela? Grieving the life that you thought you were going to have before you had your autistic son. Grieving the life that you had before you had your kids. Then you're trying so hard to hold on to it. Grieving the life that you had when you had one kid, and you're trying to hold on to that life of having one kid, and you are still trying to cook every cookie from scratch. You're still trying to do every single birthday party as you did your oldest child once. For a reason, our mothers, for a reason, our grandmas and our mothers, like, you go all out with the first one, with the second one, and kind of like the bar starts to lower a little bit when it comes to their birthday parties, etc. It's because it is us setting our foot on reality. I could stay until 2 in the morning cutting things for my Leo one's birthday party when I have one, but I cannot do it right now, having three, and one of them is still breastfeeding. That's choosing grieving. Because grief is going to tell you if you did for the first one, you have to do it for the second and the third one. If you breastfed for 2 years, the first one, you're going to have to do it for the fourth one, or you're a bad mom. That's what grief tells you, is allowing that grief to flow, to happen, so you get to acceptance. And then the last thing of choosing healing is choosing forgiveness. Forgiveness of what happened that didn't happen, what you did that it should have not been. Be the first one who faces the fire and say, the wildfire stops with me. Yelling stops here. Silence stops here. Shame stops here. Spanking stops here. But remember, you cannot think your way out of it. You need to choose healing based on your daily choices and based on how well you are taking care of your body and how much you are listening to your feelings and to the messages that are coming to your nervous system. From that awareness, you can start making conscious choices. You'll have the scars, you'll have the wounds, but the hope is that your children won't. If this podcast episode gave you wow, like this was good. I needed to hear this. There is a person in your life that you know that needs to hear this message. Yes, that name that popped in your head, that's the person that I'm talking about. So I encourage you to stop what you're doing and share this podcast episode with that person right now, even if you haven't talked to her in a while. She needs to hear this. And that might be a good way to reconnect with her or with him. And remember that it only takes understanding of yourself and of your children's needs to raise secure children. I'll see you next time. Bye.